So I was searching the web looking for different news and information regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. I guess this is what it looks like when you search the web. And I came across some pretty interesting and some might say dumb stories I just had to share with you. So this update is going to be a little bit different than usual. It should be a little bit more entertaining and more what not to do regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. So I would like to share with you some of the top fraudulent Paycheck Protection cases that have come out, especially regarding the first round of PPP funding and how they've shaped this wave of second round funding for the Paycheck Protection Program. I mean, there's been cases all across the board. There's been cases of doctors accused of stealing from their patients, homeowners pretending to be farmers in multi-level apartment complexes in downtown areas, gang rings stealing tens of millions of dollars, and even just people simply filling out applications wrong with incorrect addresses and receiving incorrect amounts of funding. So without further ado, let's just dive right in and look at what I found here. So of course, we can't start out a list like this without kicking it off with the classic Florida man headline. Here we have a man who submitted 4 applications for the Paycheck Protection Program under 4 made-up businesses with inflated fake payrolls. Of course, he had to make sure to get the most out of these fraudulent loans. So, make up a bunch of individuals on your payroll. This man was approved for $13.5 million and had already received $3.4 million when his loans were flagged and his expenses were discovered. His non-legitimate expenses were discovered. Upon receiving the first $3.4 million, he began, of course, spending lavishly on diamonds and a Lamborghini. And then also, there was a man in Texas who must have got a page out of this Florida guy's book and went ahead, got a fraudulent Paycheck Protection loan, and then bought a SUV Lamborghini. Kind of flipped it around a little bit. You can't directly steal. You gotta put your own spin on it. SUV Lamborghini. Something about the Paycheck Protection money makes people want to buy Lamborghinis. You'll see this is kind of a going trend here. It must be like a new money thing. You receive this huge influx of money. You're like, okay, how do I look rich? Lamborghini. So to date, we're looking at about 500 individuals that have been identified involving defrauding some portion of the $660 billion from the first round of Paycheck Protection funding. I mean, this program has given out 5.2 million loans, but there are estimations that tens of thousands of these could involve some form of misuse, like spending it on some incorrect expense or just flat out fraud. Tens of thousands. And this leads officials to believe that we may be looking at potentially billions of dollars in taxpayer money completely wasted, which is no doubt a huge amount of money. But if we think about it, this wouldn't be the first time this has happened. I mean, just the first round of stimulus checks, I think it was like $3 billion worth had been sent to deceased people. Don't quote me on that, but I know it was over $1 billion have been sent to deceased people. So it's nothing really new there. On this, Acting Assistant General Brian Rabbit, he spoke to this. He had a quote that I thought was interesting. He said, anytime the government makes a large amount of money available to the public, the opportunities for fraud are unfortunately clear. We began investigating almost immediately, and we brought our first case within months of the first loans being made. And that doesn't really come as a huge surprise to me. If the government's giving out $660 billion, there's going to be a few people who are trying to snag $1 million here, snag $1 million there, buy a SUV Lamborghini, buy a Rolex. There's people are going to try. And then those two hop on. The first to face prosecution was a reality TV star whose name is Maurice Fain. I guess he was on the show Love and Hip Hop, and he received $3.7 million for a business called Flame Trucking. So quickly, he spent $1.5 million on jewelry, diamonds, and some shield support payments. So I guess there's a little inkling of something good there. And he got caught. Now, next on our list of Max's Most Wanted Paycheck Protection Edition, a NFL wide receiver named Josh Bellamy, along with 10 associates, have been charged with fraudulently accessing $24 million in Paycheck Protection funding. Bellamy and the gang went out spending their funds on gambling, cars, and fancy jewelry, just like everyone else. I couldn't find out if it was a Lamborghini they bought or not, but we can only speculate that they caught the Lamborghini bug as well. Next up, we have an attorney whose name is Jay Choi, who was arrested and charged with fraudulently obtaining $9 million in Paycheck Protection funding through 3 separate lenders, stating he had businesses with hundreds of employees who, of course, didn't exist. With his funding, he bought a home that was worth nearly $1 million and invested even more than that in the stock market under his wife's name. It just blows my mind that so many of these people are buying things that have a trail. Like, you can see if this money is going into the stock market or to buy a car or a house. There's a paper trail for all of this. It's honestly amazing that you would even begin to think that you could get away with something like this. Then we have another man from Minnesota, home state, represent. Way to represent Minnesota, who had a previous criminal record, so he shouldn't even have gotten a paycheck protection loan in the first place. And he received $841,000 for a company that had previously closed. And then finally on the list, we have a movie producer named William Sadlier, who was charged with fraud for seeking $1.7 million in PPP loans for his production companies that was supposed to go to his employees, but of course it didn't. He spent his funds to pay off credit card debt and an $80,000 car loan. So, Dave Ramsey would probably be proud that he just went ahead and paid off debt with this, but, defrauding the American people is still not cool. So these are just a few of the numerous cases ranging from, just a few $1,000s to millions and millions of dollars, the more public ones that we're kind of talking about here. And more cases are actively being snubbed pretty much every single day. And even with the second round, they're being snubbed as they're coming in because their systems are so much better now. The blame on this wasn't all just put on individuals either. Members of Congress are holding some banks accountable for fraudulent loans as well, and bankers. The Inspector General's office, known as SIGTARP, has pursued investigations that have led to 24 enforcement actions against banks and other organizations. On top of that, they have convicted 291 individuals, including bankers, a greedy banker, who would have guessed it, on paycheck protection fraud. But most of these problems have to do with the first round of paycheck protection funding. The second round is quite a bit different. I was talking to Bill Briggs about this, and he was saying for the first round of PPP funding, they had 6 days to get this program up and running, get hundreds of billions of dollars worth of funding up and running, and application processes. They just did not have the time to put in safeguards to make sure that these things wouldn't happen. At this point, they've had 6 to 9 months to work out the kinks and make the entire system flow much, much better than the first time around. So we're going to see far fewer cases of fraud this time. I'm sure we'll see some. There's going to be a few more people trying to buy Lamborghinis, but we're going to see far fewer this time around. And you know what? I just thought about this. You should kind of look at this if you're one of those people who the Paycheck Protection Program seems daunting to you, it scares you, I know it's a lot of information, you should look at this as a sign. If multiple people have been able to receive paycheck protection loans under completely fake businesses with fake employees and buy Lamborghinis with the funds, it should be a piece of cake for you if you're a contractor or a small business owner to apply for this darn thing, receive some funding, spend it on the correct things, and then have it forgiven. That should be the key takeaway from this video. If you're scared of the Paycheck Protection Program, you probably shouldn't be. Also, if you're yet to apply, you should apply through any SBA-approved lender, or you can use the one that I've linked in the description, the one that I've been working closely with. And if you're unsure as to where to go with the Paycheck Protection Program still, I have tons of videos breaking down all the specific scenarios, from how to apply for forgiveness, paycheck protection for gig workers, for small business owners, everything. I have covered everything regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. So check out my other videos on it if you still don't know exactly what to do. So that's going to do it for today. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.